I don't have an intro tune. I don't have a intro music. All I got is three guys that are really switched on. So welcome to Rule Zero, everybody. Thank you for waiting. 5 minutes behind schedule. We'll be on BST. If you don't know what that is, it's Black Standard Time. But we'll make it worth your while for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. As always, the OGs, Troy and Rollo. And then Myron, I don't think I've been on with you very much. So this is going to be kind of interesting to hear your takes on this stuff, man.
Yeah, man. This is going to be, it's going to be fun. It's going to be good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So if you don't know already, listening in, the topic of conversation is our failed institutions failing men. And as much as we like to say, like Jordan Peterson got huge. How did he get huge? He said guys need to take on more responsibility. Like, why is that a resonant message? It's obviously because there is no responsibility to take right now. A lot of guys are feeling kind of aimless. Mm-hmm. We've had, public institutions that are kind of tasked with helping give men guidance. Military needs you guys, needs bodies in the thing. They'll give you guidance, and nobody's really doing it anymore. That's the premise. I'll start off with Rollo here because we originally started with a research paper. And I think you can talk about this one.
That's what I wanted to start with. Explain that to everybody, like what the paper was about.
Yeah, it was some student trying to work on their PhD thesis. So what they had done is they had done a study of the pickup community. And then the conclusions that they had come to were essentially what guys here have been saying for the last, God knows, at least 5 years, if not 10, 15 in some cases. Men are lacking guidance, and the people that have been tasked with providing that guidance are failing in their institutions. That's the main thrust of it. There's a bunch of other stuff, but that seemed like a fascinating topic to kind of go into depth for. So take it away, Rollo. Give us some wisdom.
I'll segue into that by saying that, because I know people are going to ask me this certainly by my show tomorrow. Did you see the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix? And yes, I have seen it. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to dedicate a full show to something like that. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it's also in my wheelhouse. And I think it's kind of like dovetails into today's topic pretty well with respect to like where we've come generationally just in 10 years, just in a decade. And I'll be talking about this at the Rule Zero conference because I'm going to be doing a talk on religion and the red pill. But in the very beginning of my book, in the introduction section of the upcoming fourth book, I go into a lot of detail about the old order versus the new order. And the old order, I just don't think of this as some sort of apocalyptic kind of, dominionist kind of crap where it's like, oh, the new world order. That's not what I mean. Okay. It's just like the way we used to think about things and the truth that we sort of clung to and decided that this is how we're going to live our lives. And how those old order thinking has changed in the new order. And what I refer to as the new order is sort of like the post-internet world, the post-social media world. And that's sort of like the segue, I guess, into sort of the Netflix thing about, the Social Dilemma. And it's all these former employees and CEOs and marketing gurus and everything are coming up saying that, social media is fundamentally changing society. And it's doing so because it plays on human nature, base human nature. And as a part of that, I think that our understanding of like gender, our understanding of like what a masculine guy ought to be and what a feminine woman ought to be are just they're either confused or they're deliberately confused or they're demonized. And when I was talking about, and this was in the third book, when I was talking about how to raise your son in a red pill paradigm, really what I'm talking about is conventional masculinity and getting back to an understanding of conventional masculinity. But it's really difficult to do because those institutions, those things that used to test guys, whether it's the military or it's like team sports or whatever, the idea that guys needed to be changed or in some way like hardened, sharpened, it's like the Spartan thing. And I know a lot of tradcons pick up on this. It's like we got to take the 9-year-old boy away from his mom and turn him into a man and put him, it's like 300, right? Put him in with a spear and let him kill a giant monster wolf, right? That's the sort of exaggerated tradcon fantasy of what I'm talking about. What really we had institutions Boy Scouts, for instance, used to be something, and now it's just the Scouts, and now they, because it's decayed and been debased by this sort of new order ideal, now that's gone. And so that's one really good, I think, illustration of this. But the other thing is that we don't have the testing, we don't have the forge, I guess, to sort of turn boys into men. We don't have rites of passage anymore. We don't have anything that sort of delineates a guy from being a boy to becoming a man. As a matter of fact, we laugh at that because it seems like, toxic masculinity. And so consequently, we get this generation, the latest generation, Generation Z, I guess, is whatever you want to call them, even the millennials, I guess, too. But those two generations who have no concept of what conventional masculinity is. And as a matter of fact, they've been taught to hate their own gender. It's what I call gender loathing in book 3, and I'll be talking about it in book 4 as well. But we have two generations at least of young men who have been taught to either be confused about masculinity or to hate their own gender, because we live in a gynocentric social order that has systematically destroyed those institutions that in any way would test a guy. So now guys don't know how to interrelate with other guys, and they can't distinguish between bullying or hazing from actually,
bonding,
iron sharpening iron, right? They can't make that distinction anymore. And so what happens is you get these guys who just wash out, who want to unplug, who want to just stay out of the game, right? They don't realize that they can't, but they think that, surrender and being non-competitive is the answer to the problems.
Right. Well, and here's the thing I wanted to lead in with Myron here, because you're the youngest one of us. You're not, you're not a young guy, but you're the youngest of us. And you're basically boots on the ground. Like, say what you want about Miami, but it's not there for the timid. Yeah. And so a lot of guys are asking, why is this important? And I'm saying, in your life, you most likely see how this plays out. So I'm curious what you'd see from there, basically the 10 out of 10 Thunderdome.
Yeah, for sure. So for the guys that don't know me, I think this is like maybe the first time I've been on Ryan's channel. So hi guys, Myron Gaines, 30 years old, live here in Miami, Florida. My parents are from Sudan, and I grew up in a Muslim background. And they basically they immigrated here in the 80s, and I was born in the United States. But the reason why I tell you guys that is because I came from a 2-parent household. And in that 2-parent household, my father pretty much, if I did something wrong, I would get smacked. If I didn't do what was supposed to be done, I'd get smacked. There were always negative consequences to me not doing something. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, when I went to high school, middle school and growing up in high school, I was bullied. And I remember that vividly. One of my childhood friends, his name is Jordan Reed. He actually just got picked up by the 49ers. Shout out to him. But we used to play basketball together. We're in the same age group. But his older brother, David Reed, who also played for the Ravens, he used to bully us with his friends. And I remember that vividly. But what I do remember is it pushed us to be better. So we would play against these guys. They were like 2 or 3 years older than us, play against them in basketball. We would always lose. But the fact that we always lost to them drove us to continue to go to the court early in the morning, practice, get better. And eventually we started taking a few games here and there. But had it not been for us being pushed by other men to become better, right, we would have never, pushed ourselves. We would have just sat there in mediocrity, played video games, whatever it may be. And then on top of that, my dad, anytime I played too much video games, I used to play Halo 2 back in the day for a set at a high level. He would basically smack me when I played too many video games. Like, hey, get out the house, do something. The thing is, and then also, and I started to kind of see this shift when I was in college. I went to Northeastern University in Boston, and I started to see the social justice warrior stuff like getting really strong right in the early 2010s. I mean, there's always been social justice warriors, but like when I was in school in Boston, it was starting to get pretty bad. Like if you say something that was politically incorrect, oh, I'm offended and everything like that. And it's obviously much worse now. I graduated in 2013. But the thing is that this coddling of society right now, like this coddling in society that we have right now, the lack of bullying, the lack of guys pushing each other, this safe space vibe that we got going on right now. At the end of the day, the only people it really benefits is women. You know what I mean? Like women are the ones that want to be coddled and told it's okay to be fat. It's okay to not perform. You know what I mean? Because there really isn't a burden of performance on women. If a woman decides I don't want to exercise and be attractive, no one's really going to shame her for that. Like people might make jokes, but no one's overtly going to do it. But like for men though, like, you know, there's immediate consequences for men for not performing. You know what I mean? And what's the biggest one? Oh, you don't get to reproduce. You know what I mean? Which happens to be the reason why we're on Earth right now. So, the thing is that these social constructs of like basically keeping men from competing, keeping people from men from bullying each other. I'm the man I am today because I got bullied. You know, I'm proud to say that. But the fact that we have this safe space vibe now, this is literally made when men weak. It's made them pretty much soft. And then who suffers? Well, I'll tell you this. When I go on dates here in Miami, one of the biggest complaints from girls is, oh, guys don't have their stuff together. Guys are immature, whatever it may be, when I'm dating the younger chicks. And it's because it's socially acceptable now for guys to not perform, for guys to be soft, to guys to be more in their feminine. So masculinity nowadays is actually pretty rare. When I tell a chick, hey, don't walk in front of me, or we're going to go here, they're like, oh, wow. Like, I like the fact that, like, you know, I met like even because here's the thing. I had I'll tell this story real quick, man. I'll go down memory lane real fast.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
He's got the best effects in the manosphere.
Yeah. So
drops rule.
I'll tell you a quick little funny story, and then I know Troy's going to kill this. Basically, there was this chick. I matched with her on Bumble, and I told her, hey, and I looked at her and on her thing. She had a bunch of like feminist propaganda, you know, the typical, if you like Trump, you're terrible, you know, that type of BS stuff, like as if like who you vote for defines your character, right? People are so stupid. But anyway, so obviously a bunch of feminist vibes. And sometimes I'll go out with these chicks, man, just to kind of like make a point and see, you know, gather more data, you know. So I told her, okay, we're going to go to this place, wear this, we're going to do this at this time. And she was like, wow, that's hot. Thank you so much for like making a decision. And I was like, what? Like, and this chick is like, you know, super left wing. Like when I got downstairs and met her, she was like all about like, you know, equality and all this other BS that we all know is a joke. But the point is that of the story is attraction isn't a choice. You know what I mean? Like women are designed to follow a man. I always say it all the time. Women are fundamentally incapable of leading a man within the confinements of a relationship. However, that guy's got to be worthy to be followed by, you know what I'm saying? And the problem is that guys are basically subscribing to institutions that no longer serve them to become the masculine dominant male that leads a woman properly.
Yeah. Well, and Troy, you're like the last generation that we could argue has men, like the Gen X one. A lot of Gen X guys say it. Maybe it's self-masturbatory. I don't know. Yeah. But from your generation, like, is what Myron's saying what reflects with you guys, the 80s kids? Or is it something different? Or is it just less extreme? I'm actually curious, especially you're across the pond. What's Eurostan doing in all this?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said thus far. And I agree with everything that Myron's just said for sure. And I think there's just been this generational sort of softening up of guys as time goes on, and certainly since in my day, you know, it was different in my day. I tell you, you know, we've certainly seen that. But the thing that I wanted to bring to the fore here is the role of the media, because we're talking about institutions, right? And of course, the media is referred to as the fourth estate in terms of power. And I mean, what role has media played in all of this? Well, obviously, quite a prevalent role, really, if you think about it, because how has everyone been molded? You know, when you think about most of the media backs up a certain narrative which says this is how things should be. And of course, we know what that narrative is because we're all referring to it now. If you look at something, and I don't want to take this off topic too much, but if you look at something like the response to the virus that's taken place in this country and obviously in the United States and the rest of the world, a lot of that really, when the dust has settled on this, whenever that is, in like 300 years or something, when we finally get out of this horrific cycle, there's going to have to be a bit of an autopsy on this, and the role of the media is going to have to be dissected, because of course what they've done is they've just whipped up this frenzy about the thing, which has meant that governments have had to respond and keep putting us back into shutdown and putting into restrictions into place and everything else. And you know, and in a sense, that's I think what's happened with some of these other social issues. You know, the media has, because the media just wants clicks, right? They just want advertising dollars. They just want to sell. They used to want to sell newspapers. Now they want advertising dollars online, right? So they don't really care so much what they're putting out there. They just want to create outrage. So they or they want to appeal to the largest common denominator, if you like. So, you know, the way that the narrative has been shaped by the media, I think plays a big role in this, in terms of this is what guys are supposed to be like, this is what women are supposed to be like, this is how you're supposed to behave. And I mean, in a sense, a show like this is an example of a dissenting voice in the narrative, and dissenting voice, and that's why people end up getting deplatformed and all this kind of thing, because it goes against that narrative, because groupthink is so strong. But as I say, I believe that it's really fueled by the media, and that's something we need to pay attention to.
Dude, that's a crazy take. Well, here, let me throw a football out, and I want to see who wants to take this one. Somebody in the chat here, I think Mularka, if I'm pronouncing that right, made the mention that no war equals no men. And I remember writing about this myself, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts, where the idea of, remember these rites of passage we used to have? It's because guys were needed for something. Men had to go to war to fight, the Austrian painting scene in the 40s. So that was how you made yourself into a man, because they needed people at the war front. Or in America, when it was first doing all that stuff, people needed farmers because we were just building the country. So, a man was the guy who went out there, got to work, built a family. Now, arguably, life is easy enough now that we don't need men for anything. Like, our strong arms and backs are detached from productivity. So from a perspective of incentives, what incentive exists now to want institutions to want to make more men? Do you guys see where I'm going with this one? Or do you think that's like a totally poor way of framing it?
I think that's valid. I get what you're saying. Like, basically the society's been built for the most part. So why do we still need, like, they always say, in times of peace, you know what I mean? Like, the soft guys show up, but when in times of war, you need that toxic masculinity, you know what I'm saying? And, let's face it. I mean, besides this beer bug crap going on, for the most part, we've been in peace for, 50, 60 years, you know what I mean? We've been a world war. I mean, you could talk about Iraq or whatever, but like, that wasn't really more of a landslide. But, in general, yeah, I mean, the things that like pretty much promoted men to be men, aka the farming industry, building, construction, all these things, they're not as needed as before. Society's pretty much, it's at a level now where we rely a lot on technology. You know what I mean? And it's just we live in a very cush world at times of peace. At this time.
Yeah, that's true. There's a great quote by George Orwell, which is something along the lines of. It's something like, nice guys can sleep soundly in their beds because there are more dishonorable men who are prepared to commit the violent acts that are necessary for a society to function. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, it's like in line with what Myron's been saying. It's sort of like, we've been able to get away with not going through those masculine rites of passage that guys used to have to in the past, because actually we're not being forced into war or into these sort of like violent type situations. And anything that does need to be done is being sort of done covertly by other people, so that most of the rest of society can rest easy.
We outsource war. That's why we outsource it. We don't have to fight anymore.
Yeah.
It's got, it's funny, as I was thinking about this, as I was watching, the social dilemma thing. It's not just about like it's not just about like the internet. It's not just about social media. It's like we've fundamentally changed the way we think about like ourselves as humans. And I think it's strange for like, say, like my generation or the boomer generation, or maybe even the millennial generation, because we existed prior to the new order, right? Now, thinking about where we're at, it's like more people learn about war from playing Call of Duty than they do, in any other realm, or watching a movie or watching superheroes or something. Like, it's all simulated for us right now. And we still have that. I think as guys, as particularly men, we have this sort of want for purpose. We have this want for direction. That's why Jordan Peterson saw the Lost Boys generation, and everybody sort of jumped in and piled on for that, because, and, filling, concert halls to watch this guy talk, because they want some direction. Remember we did the episode about like the father I never had episode? That was kind of, I think, profound, because this generation of men is looking for direction and purpose. And the reason why they have no purpose is because everything's done for them, right? There's this, the first generation, of course, that has been acculturated and socialized in a global sense, but also as sort of making feminism and gynocentrism their main focus. So either they drop out or they are team woman at this stage, and so as a consequence, they don't know how to interact. They don't know how, they can't tell bullying from or hazing from like, you know, testing. They would never even like even the military, like when COVID came out and I'm looking at military videos and it's like kids in the military making TikTok videos and yucking it up like any other kid would. And except they're wearing military fatigues or they're the National Guard or something. And I'm like, are these the people that are going to defend us? Are these people who are going to do riot control? Are these the kids that are going to do this? And it's like, no, they're not. It's like a social club right now. It's like, oh, you're in the military? Yeah, that's a cool club, right? That's sort of the gist, I guess, of being in the military. It's just some other sort of means for social engagement, and we've prioritized social engagement above everything else. I don't think we're at a point right now where we will fight wars in the same way that we'll fight like in World War II. We're not going to put on uniforms and go and have these, you know, divisions of tanks over here and these, and everything's covert, man. It's all done from a desktop right now. It's like putting guys out there. Why would anybody want to put their ass on the line when they don't have to, when the technology does it for themselves, when you can have robots go out there and kill people, you know, and you don't have to be there to see it happen.
Yeah. Well, here, Sterling just showed up. Johnny, guys, Modern Life Dating, Johnny, Sterling, Cooper, both here. I don't know if people know who you are yet.
The champ is here. The champ is here.
I was hoping you would show up because this is going to be fun too. We're already talking about institutions kind of failing guys and guys not having direction and things to do with their life. Let's face it. You basically have sex professionally. Mm-hmm. And by any rite of passage, like suggestion, you would be part of the problem. But look at you right now.
The West is dying because of you, Sterling. What are you going to do about it, man?
But here's the thing: like you've kind of carved your path, and nobody can look at you or talk to you or see what you're doing and suggest, "Well, he's not a man about it," right? So you kind of did an unconventional thing, carved your own path, and made it work for you. So I'm curious on your thoughts on the institutions that were designed to help guide men failing and how men kind of adapt to it. I guess adaptation would be the best way to describe it.
I'm really glad Rollo just used the word hazing a minute ago. So I'm going to tell you a bit of my background. So I was the president of a college back in Australia. So we use the terms college a bit differently in Australia. So what you guys tend to call college, we call university, right? And what you might call a fraternity, we would call a residential college. So I'll use American lingo here to make it a bit easier for the viewers. So I was basically the president of a fraternity back in Australia when I went to university. And this fraternity was an all-boys fraternity back in like when it was founded from the foundation. Then in I think the 50s, they started taking in women. And women started, coming into that space. And then when I was there was a lot of traditions that had been passed down over the years. It's only been around for like 100 years, but there was a lot of traditions there still. And most of them were hazing traditions. Most of them were like rites of passage and about making, these young men who come to university at 18 years old, or like these boys who come to university at 18 years old as a pile of cookie dough, molding them into men. And we used to do lots of things like, Troy might be familiar with some of these songs that we used to sing. We used to sing a lot of rugby chants back in the day. And we used to have these events called because there was guys and girls at this college now, we used to have this event called Boys Night Out and Girls Night Out, where the two sexes would split up. They'd each get on party buses and they'd do a pub crawl, go to a lot of different pubs. At the very end of the night, they'd meet up together. Now, on this pub crawl, and we had a few people who a few guys ended up sort of infiltrating the female pub crawl a few years, and they said it was the most batshit boring fucking night you could possibly imagine. They're all just standing around doing nothing. Whereas the lads' pub crawl was hilarious, and it was because the whole night was about the older guys hazing the shit out of the younger lads. Oh, my bad. That was my alarm. hating the shit out of the younger lads and singing all these, to be perfectly honest, very derogatory, misogynistic rugby chants the entire night on the bus, and then going into a pub and forcing the young, like 18-year-olds to like scull their drinks and do all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah.
Flashback to now, though,
Mhm.
because I'm still on social media, connected to this fraternity, and they've become the most pussified fucking institution I have ever seen in my life. They've gone from embracing, football and sports and debate, like conquering all the other fraternities on the campus, and now they're all about, let's have a violin team. Let's have a what's it called? Let's have a bub.
Ryan, I got a question for Ryan. Ryan, you're Navy, right? So you were in the Canadian Navy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Were you were on a ship at some point? I
hope so.
Did
I'd be a shitty sailor if I didn't.
I don't know, man. Some Navy guys will say like, yeah, I did, but all I did was sit in an office the whole time.
Oh, clerks.
So did you ever take the ship across the equator?
Oh, the crossing the line ceremony.
Is that what is the name for that? Because I was trying to come up with that name on my Patreon stream yesterday because I was talking about rites of passage and hazing and
dude, I could steal a podcast for that. It's the ceremony is called the crossing the line ceremony. It's about King Neptune and that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get to that in a sec. I'm actually curious on John's thing first before I do.
Okay.
So John, you kind of had the same, like, different thing than Sterling. Sterling had an organization of guys that had it and then they lost it. But you kind of didn't see it anywhere. So you literally said, screw it, I'm going west. Carved out your own path to masculinity all the way across the earth. Basically living like, what's that Tom Cruise movie where he became a samurai? You essentially did that, but with a leather hat.
So what's the question? Or is there...
just about like your thoughts on this, institutions failing men and adapting to the lack of like masculinity being not given to you, but like guidance.
Well, it's all, you got to follow the money. That's what it's all about. Okay. The only reason social media and all these institutions, anything that you see being done to in today's day and age to empower women is done to either financially extract as much money from them and or extracting votes for them. Politicians will pander to get power, and they'll pander to women because they're easy to manipulate, because all you got to do is trick them and have a very emotionally driven message, and then you'll win. And so the thing is, because if you look at, like, I just watched a fantastic documentary called The Social Dilemma, and it's just talk about how much power these social media institutions have right now. And they target women. They are engineering these things to be psychologically addictive. Let's just break down Instagram, what Instagram really is right now. Every girl around the world is cripplingly addicted to Instagram. And I'm telling you this from Tokyo, Japan. Myron could tell you this in Miami. Sterling could tell you this in Los Angeles. You could probably say this in California or Canada. Troy could tell you this in the United Kingdom, okay? And what is Instagram? It is a girl posting really sexual photos of herself for imaginary points. Okay. You have all these institutes that are just trying to empower women. They're running all these things that are under the guise of empowering women, but all it really is to extract easy money and easy votes out of them. And what happened is, you only see this in America, where the commercials are constantly bashing men and lifting up women. America, our media has become irreparably infected with this kind of cycle of propagating, pro-female media and, anti-male media. So you have this machine that has got the wheels turning right now, and there's no coming back. And that's why I say, like, at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. But America, culturally speaking, is circling the drain. And it's down to feminism that started it all. It's being bought up, is being fed by the media industry, and it's also being fed by the governments. It is unstoppable, and you are witnessing the decline of Western culture. The West is not going to be saved. There is no salvation. The only salvation is in the mirror every single day, and you got to save yourself. And that's why, I have to watch the MGTOW content to be dialed in to what's going on in this corner of the internet, right? And the bottom line is this: if you're a high value man who truly understands female nature, you do not go MGTOW. Guys who go MGTOW do not understand the full dynamics of the sexual relationship out there, period. And what's going on, right? I just want to make one more point, then I'll be quiet. The point I'm trying to make is this. Okay. What we have right now with this system too, it's when women are actively divorcing the father of their child for financial means only, you have a nation that is irreparable. And we're, like I said, just enjoy the decline, enjoy the collapse, and China's going to win. So get over to Asia, the winning team.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going to pass this off to Myron and Troy here, but that's just the terrain right now. Not going to change.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for Troy, on you here. So I'm passing it right off to you.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, it's happening. It's not something we can change. It's nothing we can do about. And John's right. The MGTOWs just largely like to point it out and then complain about it, but don't offer anything else. Meanwhile, like Troy, your example, moving from corporate to become an author, a creative writing thing, Sterling with the fraternities, Myron moving down to Florida and becoming his own man, Rollo deciding he wanted to move on and be an author and stop swilling liquor, Johnny moving to the other side of the world. Like, guys like you have basically pioneered this, like, way ahead now that we know how dire things are. Am I right?
Well, yes, absolutely. And I mean, I was just going to make the point when John was talking there about when he said MGTOWs don't understand the full extent of female nature. And I was just going to say, in fact, why would you want to be a MGTOW if you do understand that? Do you know what I mean? Because the opportunities are so great. Okay. And yeah, like Ryan's just saying now, I mean, I think many of us on this panel, all of us on this panel really have in one way or another sort of forged our own path. And I think that's come about through a shared understanding of what the dynamics are out there. It's come through a shared understanding of the dynamics of the sexual marketplace in the first instance, but also the dynamics of politics, the dynamics of the sort of geopolitical scene, and an understanding of the way that business and work has changed and location has changed. And I mean, again, as I always say, as much as people can bemoan, the dying of the West and all this kind of stuff, I mean, there's a certain, like John said, there's a certain inevitability to that. There's not really a lot you can do about that. But on the plus side, this is also a time of enormous opportunity. I mean, this is unprecedented opportunity in the history of the whole planet, really. I mean, okay, Corona's come in and, sorry for saying that word, but that's obviously come in and, put the brakes on things a little bit. But aside from that, there are so many opportunities for guys these days, not only sort of sexually in terms of dating, in terms of, the kind of life you can lead in your personal life, but also in terms of business, where you can live, the kind of money you can make. I mean, all of these kinds of things. We have just got opportunities that our fathers and our grandfathers couldn't have dreamt of. And it's an incredible time.
And I want to say this too, because that's a fantastic point. Because what I'm starting to realize is what I'm teaching guys is there's all the MGTOW stuff. You know what's so popular is because just looking at a bell curve, the majority of people are losers, and that's okay. What I'm teaching you is how to unloser yourself, how to become the high value man. And now more than any other time in human history, if you're a man, first of all, you've won because you're a man. Second of all, okay, if you're a man who decides to dedicate yourself to becoming above average, to becoming excellent, to going after big money, a lot of women, perfect body, whatever, you have virtually no competition, especially if you're red pilled, because we talk about the top 20%, right? But of that top 20%, what percent of those guys are truly red pilled? Probably 1%. And so you're in the 1% of the 1%. If you're in the top 20%, and a red pill guy going hard after your goals and desires. I have no competition. I feel invincible these days. I truly feel invincible.
I was going to say, you didn't give up on America. What are your thoughts on this? Is John switched on here? Is he bang on or what?
Yeah, so I'm going to blend because John and Troy both made excellent points, and I'm just going to blend it all together as the guy here in the United States, right? So the thing is this, John's 100% right. The thing is that there's been a degradation of the nuclear family, and we can, quite frankly, there's a bunch of things that came into that, but let's make no mistake about it. No fault divorce, feminism, all these things have come in and basically kind of hurt the nuclear family. And quite frankly, for children to be raised correctly, you need 2 parents in a household and even an extended family. You know what I mean? And we have pretty much an army of children that came from single parent households. Just like this is why Jordan Peterson was able to come up in the Lost Boy generation, because a lot of children in general don't grow up with a father. So what that's done is when you degrade the nuclear family and kids come out, ill-taught, all these other things, well, then the degeneracy begins. And when the degeneracy begins, what happens? Open promiscuity, people waiting longer to have children, the family birth rates come down, everything like that. So what this is done, right? Going back to what Troy was saying, if you're aware of female nature and you know how to play the game, you can definitely get laid a bunch. Like you can take that knowledge of female nature, how women mate select, right? The uncomfortable realities of how women mate select, and you got 2 options. You can cry about it and make 8-hour streams and say hypergamy, or you can, learn this stuff, learn to be attractive and exploit it, for your own being, because we've never lived in a time where women are openly promiscuous and it's actually encouraged by society. So for like dudes like us that are single, they're just trying to, get some action. This is awesome. But like, but on the other end, if I wanted to like raise a family or anything like that, man, it's going to come with a lot of risks. So, definitely there's things going on here, because when one thing suffers, something else is going to benefit to some degree. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a yin and a yang, a negative and a positive. But right now, the degradation of the family unit has pretty much promoted degeneracy. Degeneracy has allowed promiscuity to flourish. That's why we got chicks like Cardi B over here saying, don't cook, don't clean, but I still get a ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is completely socially acceptable now for a woman to bring nothing to the table besides sex.
Give Sterling a job.
Yeah, exactly. If you go back 100 years, if a woman didn't have any home ec abilities, she'd be shunned. Like they'd be like, yo, you're not going to find a husband, whatever it may be. And I don't want to get into trad territory, but that's basically kind of what I've noticed about things. But it's great for me because I'm here in Miami, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, if I want to have a family here, I have to think twice or get married, etc.
Yeah, well, Rollo, what's the overarching point? Like, put a capper on this for us, because we're all in the talking trench work here.
Well, let's look at it this way. I mean, one of the reasons, the most popular thing among, and I hate to keep coming back to MGTOW because every damn show we do, it's all about, MGTOW, whatever. But the reason why we keep talking about that is because the most popular thing in MGTOW right now is don't get married, don't get married, don't get married. And that's the same thing that's been running around feminism for a long time, right? Don't get married, you'll be a slave. Same thing in MGTOW. Don't get married, you'll be a slave. Now things have sort of switched over so that the worst, it's an unconscionable contract, right? It's been made so that institution of marriage has been made so impossible or as such a bad deal. Like I don't know if you guys are familiar with the idea of an unconscionable contract. It is a legal term, which means that it is a contract that no sane person would ever enter into if they were, because it's all one-sided, right? It's all there's a legal term for unconscionable contract. Like the best I can do is just like say, go look it up on Wikipedia and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But that's what marriage has become. So when people like hit me up and they go, well, Rollo's married, don't listen to him, he doesn't know anything. Like that's the MGTOW argument. Don't listen to him, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then from the TradCon side, I get like, don't listen to Rollo, he's all about spinning plates and banging random girls all the time, right? And so I can't win either way. So I'm just like, screw it. But I'm not anti-marriage. I've never been anti-marriage. I've been married for 24 years happily because I have red pill awareness and because I apply it daily. It's just because I am the game, right? I am the red pill. This is what I do. That's my natural reflex, is to see things with the red pill lens and to raise my daughter and to be with my wife and everything else. But guys, that's like, it doesn't register to them. It doesn't, like, they can't imagine that because it's an institution. Marriage is an institution. We call it the institution of marriage. And it used to be a good deal. It used to be the foundation and the keys, like the cornerstone of Western society used to be socially enforced monogamy via marriage. We are promiscuous critters. We're promiscuous animals. And in the absence of any kind of social contract, that's what we revert to. That's why when we talk about like Instagram addictions or guys who are getting, pornography, like men's natural impulse is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. That's our base, sexual strategy. If we could get that, we'll get that. And we get that through pornography right now. Sorry, Sterling. But we get that through porn right now. And that's why it's ubiquitous. That's why it's free. That's why it's, streaming 4K porn on demand at any time. And we've never had that in the history of humanity, because we've had these institutions that were buffers against like the worst parts of our human nature, which have all been sort of torn down right now. So yeah, we have a generation of guys who don't know how to be men. They don't know what conventional masculinity. I keep having to call it conventional masculinity because if you call it traditional masculinity, they think you're like, conservative evangelical Christian, and that's what that means. It's like, no, there's different traditions for masculinity, but that's what it's become so negative that even the APA, American Psychology Association, calls masculinity a personality disorder now. So how do you get past that? How do you institutionalize things? And you know what?
You don't.
You guys were saying a minute ago about the Lost Boys, and they're all, they're sheep looking for a shepherd, right? They're looking for a dad figure right now. And there's guys that are picking up on this, like the Jordan Petersons of the world, and they're monetizing it because they see these guys and for what the highest demand is within that niche. Some are good, some are not. But the thing is it's so reliable right now that you can monetize it, that you can make a business out of it.
Huh. Well, Troy, you're probably most likely to have the most fathered children out there that you don't know about. Sterling's girls are all tested regularly, so they make sure to keep it going. But yeah, I'm curious if you were going to add something to this.
Well, I just wanted to add something actually to what Myron just said, which is that I agree with everything that Myron's intimated in terms of degeneracy in society, right? And yes, I mean, the family unit has been eroded because of various reasons that, over the course of, I believe, a long time, actually, from even probably after the Second World War, the sort of the dissipation of religion, the fact that it certainly in Europe and I guess parts of the United States, become much more secular, if you like. And yeah, I believe all of that stuff to be true. But I think the issue is then what do you really want anyway? Because like Myron said, actually there's a benefit to this if what you're looking for is to be in Miami and kind of have a good time and meet loads of girls and have a promiscuous or sort of like prolific dating life, right? And actually, as Rollo said, really, when you think about what man's fundamental base impetus is, it is, unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And in a sense, the conditions that we see around us today are probably the best that they've ever been for a guy who's got his shit together and he's, in shape and he's red pill and he knows what he's doing. The conditions are probably better than they've ever been before for a guy to achieve his basic desire for unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. So this is why I always joke on Twitter and stuff about degeneracy and saying, oh, let's encourage degeneracy and stuff. It's not because I'm going out to the party every night. I mean, I can't at the moment because of bloody COVID, but it's more like, it's more like, because it's like, well, what do you guys really want? Like probably actually, if you were honest with yourselves, probably you'd want to, be having like a pretty exciting and prolific dating life. Do you know what I mean? Well, you could do that now. So take advantage of the status quo. Don't like argue. Don't complain about it and become like a tradcon martyr. Go out there and enjoy the fruits of what we have rather than, being a bloody bore about it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, we basically have the advocate for degeneracy down right here, Sterling. He went one step further. All right, you guys are having some fun with girls and enjoying the decline. I'm going to buy myself a nice fancy couch and a camcorder with that as my business policy. So yeah, that's what I mean. Solution wise though, like Sterling, you took this giant turd sandwich we had and you polished something out of it. And while other guys may not want to get into like, the adult industry, there's clearly parallels between what you're doing and what everybody else is here doing too. So like, how did you avoid that trap that your buddies did where they ended up getting more and more soy, more feminized, kind of lost what it was? Like, how did you keep it while they lost it? What would guys do to get that if they never had it? Putting you on the spot.
Well, I was lucky. Yeah, it was a couple of things. I was like, one, I got around women, and that fucking switches you on pretty quickly. Like I started working in areas, obviously like the sex industry, where you're around girls all the time, and that shit'll like wake you up to the reality of the situation pretty quickly. And the second thing is I got mentors. Who are guys who are better than me at like various things, be it like health, wealth, relationships, whatever it is.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing, like right here, little D. John, what are you talking about? But that's the thing. Like, funny story, actually. Just before I went to set yesterday, my neighbors, like this big Mexican family, right? And just as I'm about to pull out of the driveway, the chubby little like teenage kid who lives next door came up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you work out?" I'm like, he's like, "Oh man, like can I work out with you? Can you train me?" I'm like, "Sure, fuck it, why not?" And I was thinking, and I just said yes, and I got the kid's number or whatever, and then I went off to set. And I was thinking on the way there, I'm like, God damn, like this kid. I've seen the family next door. There's like about 4 adult men in that family, and none of them know how to teach this kid how to fucking lift weights. I'm like, Jesus, like, and this kid knows this, and he's like 16, and he's aware of it. It's sort of like I feel like there's a gap, right, between this kid's father and this kid in terms of the generation, where all these institutions failed these guys, and now with the internet, this younger generation, the Gen Z, are kind of waking up. Like, I'm on a lot of meme pages on my Facebook, and there's a ton of meme generation now that points towards like being traditionally masculine and embracing tradition and conservatism and values like that. I just think a lot of these kids are waking up being like, man, we haven't learned a damn thing. Because they all have Instagram, like everyone's been talking about. They can see dudes who are jacked and fit like Myron or whatever and be like, man, like no one's taught me how to do this. So they're desperate for like mentors. And that's why you get, Jordan Peterson blew up. That's why everyone looks at Rollo as their surrogate grandfather.
With the cult leading dad.
Right. They need it. They really need it.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, what's your thought on this? Because how many guys have you had rolling through just body language mastery, which is crazy, by the way? Like when I first started doing it with you, I thought, oh, this is great. It's a nice skill for guys learning to pick up so they can read body language signals. And then we got into the webinars, and you've essentially, I promised you body language signals, but I've basically delivered a complete package of how to man. And I know that sounds kind of weird and cringe, but it's basically true. So what's your ideas on the way ahead?
Well, I mean, look, the future is available to those who are going to take it. I wasn't joking when I said I'm going to create an army. I have a hot dude army, and we focus on the 3 things that every man and deep down in his heart knows that he wants: more money, more sex, and more physical power. That's what you talk to most men. You ask them, hey, if you could take this pill and you'll get $100,000 a year, 6-pack abs, and have a harem of 5 beautiful women, would you take it? That pill would be swallowed so quick. It would be, it would be like, it's irrefutable what I'm trying to say. And the way forward is, if you have one of these things, okay, if you have a cell phone and you have a fucking internet connection, you can change your life. You can learn every skill you want to learn on YouTube. You could run a business off of this. Okay. But you have to realize this: majority of people, statistically speaking, lying on a bell curve, are average intelligence losers. And you have a society in America where we talk, because most of our guys are in the West, where, like, I don't even think American people understand how fat they are and how much of like a fat bubble they live. Every time I go back to America, I'm like, everybody is so fat. Everybody is and everybody's so miserable, and everybody is so like obsessed with politics, and everybody is in debt. So when you just look at it and you decide that I don't want to live that kind of life, and then you start searching for answers and you start taking action, you can change your life. It's 2020. It's not like, oh, I'm a coal miner and my daddy was a coal miner and we just got to mine these coals. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not like that anymore. But People take the path of least resistance because humans are lazy, and you have to fight your DNA to become an above average man. You have to fight internally. Again, like when you don't want, like how many of us, we all know about this. You just feel like, I just don't want to go to the gym, but you fight your internal instincts and you go to the gym. How do you feel after the gym? You feel fantastic. When you first pick up that book, you're like, I don't want to read this book. God, it's so annoying. But then you get to the first chapter, you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. I didn't know that, and I'm not talking like if you're reading Lord of the Rings. I'm talking like, reading good books like Atomic Habits, Compound Effect, Millionaire Fastlane, all these things. But everybody, and even in our community, like everybody wants to sit there and be Mr. Keyboard Alpha, right? But few guys, Mr. Keyboard Alpha, right? You ask him, when was the last time you actually did some cold approach? You just talked to a girl randomly in the wild. When was the last time you did that? Oh, well, 2018, where you wrote a blog on Reddit and you got like 500 upvotes. Oh, great.
Dude, that's fantastic. Pretty good. All right. So here, a quick break for the super chats. A little off topic, but whatever. I appreciate the support. Thank you, Giuseppe, for the 10 Australian dollar super chat. So Myron, you're up here. What do they think of the Islamic feminism, women taking off hijabs and getting thrown in jail? He's not crapping on Islam, but at the same time, he has a moral dilemma.
Man, well, first and foremost, let me preface this with telling you guys I'm an awful Muslim. But with that said, we talked about this on one of my shows, and I'm gonna probably bring Abu American on so we could talk about this a little bit more, because as you guys, shout out to Abu American, man, he's much more religious than I am. But the main takeaway is this, man. Western culture is seeping into Muslim countries. There's no doubt about it. Rolla, you posted something on Twitter actually the other day, which I shared, that there's some women that actually came up in Sudanese government, which is crazy because normally that would never happen. But it's just to show that times have changed, and I'm not one of these guys that's going to sit here and tell you guys women shouldn't vote and women can't make decisions politically and all other stuff. I ain't going to say that. I think women are definitely capable of, making rational, sound decisions. But when it comes to a relationship with a man, you can't let her lead, because if you do let her lead, she's going to lead to the end of that relationship. That's all she's going to lead you to. But yeah, man, I mean, this is basically, Islam is typically always somewhere between 30 to 50 years behind the West. And we're just starting to see this happening now. It's going to continue, man. It's even the strongest Sharia law countries are going to start caving. Saudi Arabia has already started, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, that's the Mecca.
Segue then to Oliver Wilson's. Rollo, do you want to take this one? He's asking, will this marketplace crash, giving women's unrealistic expectations?
Ooh, that's good.
Will it crash? I don't know that it will. Like,
it's going to crash. It is going to crash.
Yeah.
Well, what does crash mean? He's right. Like, what does that mean, though?
But here, what does crash mean, though? Does it mean like we're all going to be in
Brazil
soup lines or something like that? Like yeah, well, that might be true. Again, it's like, what is what he's talking about is a sexual marketplace crash, because the sexual marketplace is globalized right now. It's not so much crash as it is we're going to expand into something that we're just simply unprepared for right now. You want to know why, the red pill exists, or why it's still popular, 15, 20 years later, really? Is because we're seeing this globalized desire, this globalized need by guys who are looking for, you want to know why PUA was the first thing that ever happened to the red pill, or the red pill was sort of a derivative of PUA, because guys wanted to learn how to get laid. And from that, we got, oh, well, how do I be a better man? How to be authentic? How do I do this? How do I do that? Because now suddenly we're realizing that there's these guys who are completely unprepared and untrained. So yes, the sexual marketplace is going to get more mercenary. If it keeps going the way that it is, it's going to get more mercenary. It's going to get more ruthless. It's going to be less humane, let's just say. And you're going to see winners and losers, as John will point out in every video. Is there are winners and there are losers. If you want to be a shark, or do you want to be a fish, right? Where do you want to line up in all of this? And so you can either be I talked about this on my last podcast. Was you can be competitive, or you can choose to be uncompetitive. And most guys are choosing non-competitiveness because they simply give up. They see it as hopeless. They see it as nihilistic. You want to know why? What is it? Suicide rates amongst men is 4.5 times greater. Successful suicide rates is greater than women's, greater than young girls. is because of this nihilism, this hopelessness, this I'm never going to measure up to, I saw that video too, by the way, the documentary, John, that you were talking about, the social dilemma. Notice that they only ever talked about girls' suicide rates.
I was throwing shit in my room, screaming at the screen.
Exactly. The only thing they talked about was the unrealistic beauty standards that these poor girls have to be intimidated by. Bullshit. It's men, it's boys that are killing themselves at 4.5, 5 times the rate of girls. But that's the only narrative we hear. You know why? Because guys aren't, the little boys, teenage guys, they're not cutting themselves. It's not a cry for help. They just kill themselves. They're just dumb. That's it. They're successful, far more successful.
And get the job done.
That's usually the thing that feminists throw at me whenever I say that. They say, well, I say, well, men kill themselves 5 times at 5 times the rate of women. Yeah, but women try more. Like as if that's like some sort of like
participation trophy.
Okay, well, yeah. Feminist. No.
It's hard to see how the sexual marketplace. It's hard to see how the sexual marketplace won't become more ruthless and won't become more cutthroat, like you were saying, Rollo. I don't see how that can.
Complex.
And I'll tell you guys this.
It's not going back in the bottle, is it? The genie. I mean, like the social networks are only going to become more prevalent. They're only going to become more sort of invasive. The algorithms, the data's only going to become more. We're not going backwards unless there is some sort of a collapse type situation. But I don't see that happening.
Point here that I just want to throw in because from this question, just to touch on what Rollo and Troy were saying. So if you guys search Rebecca Lynn Pope on YouTube, and you're going to see a video with over 1 million views. And this woman, Rebecca Lynn Pope, she's a female matchmaker, a former female matchmaker. And basically being a matchmaker red-pilled the crap out of her because she quit helping women find men because she quickly realized that female standards were like way out of their capacity to attract these types of men. Basically, all the women were looking for that top 1% guy, 6'2" plus, over $100,000 a year, good shape, good job, all these things. And quite frankly, she was like, listen, that's a very small percentage of men, and these guys probably aren't going to commit to you. You know what I mean? And she kind of would tell these girls the reality of what it's like. Because we always talk about, women always say, I want a guy that's, they want to date up, hypergamy, whatever it may be. But women don't want to deal with the ramifications of that. And the reality is if you're dealing with a 1% guy, you're going to have to share him because there's not enough of those guys to go around. And quite frankly, a guy that's in the 1% has worked his ass off to get there, and he shouldn't have to settle. You know what I mean? Because like men are made, women are born. So if that guy wants to run around and have multiple girlfriends, whatever it may be, I say all more for it because men have to earn their value. Women just have it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So they got to preserve it, as Rich always says.
Oh, wait, I got one now. I was thinking of a segue for this too. Sterling, so I called you a woodsman, which I didn't know people didn't know what the term meant. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? And I was thinking about, because they were talking about, how it's women's and sports and all that crap. But then in the porn industry, like girls tend to make a ton more than guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the gender pay gap on this
gender
one.
pay gap.
And so I was just thinking exactly what like Myron's talking about here. Unrealistic expectations. So you're kind of in the male equivalent of the girl who deserves the top 1% but isn't really worth it. Woodsmen are always fighting an uphill battle. So I'm curious your thoughts to elaborate on what Myron's saying right here.
Man, like all these girls, like it's kind of funny. We talk about like Instagram addiction and all that kind of crap. Like I worked with this girl yesterday, and we were working in this office building, right? And it was just at nighttime, so it was just reflective windows everywhere. And this girl could not stop looking at her reflection.
Listen, Sterling, that's happening in Japanese high schools too. With these Japanese girls, you think they're checking their phone? They are looking at themselves. And remember, Asia came up with those beautification apps. The beauty standards over here are extremely high, but instead of revolting and being disgusting like American chicks, like they just adhere to them. So it has some benefits for me personally.
I don't know. My girlfriend says that I'm more vain than she is, though. She says like every time we walk past a window, I'm checking myself out in the window. So I don't know. I like to think
but you do it with style.
She's probably just uglier than you, Troy. That's why.
How could she not be?
Yeah. But Myron, so I hope we up you on that point there. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm sorry we cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was just going to finish up real quick about unrealistic standards. So yeah, guys, check that out. Rebecca Lynn Pope, you're going to see women have unrealistic standards, has over 1 million views. And she basically goes on like a 20-minute rant about how when she was a matchmaker, she had to quit because women came to her with unrealistic standards, all chasing that top 1% guy. And the thing is that, that video got a lot of clicks. And then I think women are slowly starting to realize that they're a bit delusional in their preferences of what they're looking for, because I see Kevin Samuels, his channel is exploding. And what he does a lot of times, shout out to him, he has a call-in thing, and he'll be on late at night with 5,000, 6,000 callers. And most of them are women calling in to say, hey, how do I get a high-value guy? And it's hilarious because the first thing he asks them is, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? And these women reveal it over the phone. And he's like, I'm 200 pounds. They'll be like, nah, baby, you're a linebacker.
I heard one recently. This is what she said.
Yeah.
5'4", 270 pounds.
Yep.
But I make 6 figures and I have a baby from a barber.
Yeah.
We're not
Wait
married.
a minute, Bruno?
But come on, George Bruno doesn't have sex with women. You have this kind of girl saying like, I deserve a high value man. And here's the problem, right? Here's the problem, but it's fantastic for guys like us. The problem is social media has given everybody a look into something better than they have. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got money. Somebody's got more money. I think I got hose. Somebody's got more hose. I think I'm like decently in shape. There's a guy with like, 4% body fat walking around all the time. But if you walk around, and it takes a logical approach to this to be sane, right? Which women aren't. They're not very logical at all. But if you are constantly trying to be this perfect creature at all times in a very imperfect existence, you're going to have anxiety. You're going to have depression. I'm doing Patrice O'Neill breakdowns on my channel all this week and stuff. And I relate to Patrice so much. She's like, my self-esteem is so low, it's high. And that's why I'm so successful. I get on there. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of balding. Yeah, I'm a little overweight. Yeah, I'm not 6'10", but I have game and I have red pill knowledge and I'm probably having more sex with hotter girls than you. That's the difference between being a victim in this circumstance and being a winner. But to be a winner, the prerequisite is doing the work, which nobody wants to do.
Oh, yeah. Thanks again, Thor, for the shout out there. Rolo, I'm not going to lie. As soon as Myron started talking about girls are starting to realize about the delusion and kind of coming to their senses, I thought of you. I remembered an article. I'm hoping I can give you this ball and have you go with where I'm thinking you're going with this one.
But you wanted me to talk about the epiphany phase.
Well,
right?
I was thinking about it. It's like that's the first thing I thought about.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, that wasn't my point, but I was going to say is that when I did the Tommy Lahren video, and yes, I did turn down Dr. Phil, everybody, just so we know, because I didn't want to be a part of this sort of monkey show that was going on. But they wanted to have Tommy Lahren on there, and I said this in my Tommy Lahren video, which was how they found me, by the way. Is that she's emblematic, let's just say, of this generation of certain Western women. Because I know there's differences and regional differences, let's say, but that sentiment is globalizing right now. So we have Tommy Lahren, who is living high on the hog and has been through her party years, is probably coming out on the back end of them, and has built up this personality and these ego investments and this ego based on entitlements. And that's really what you guys are talking about, is like we have this, particularly among women, is this hubris that they are entitled to the mark of the beast, right? 666, 6 foot tall, 6-pack abs, and 6-figure income, and that nothing else will do. When there's the average height of who was telling me this? The average height of a guy in around the world is like 5'9" or 5'10" or something like that. You're simply not gonna get that. That's gonna be something that's in the elite men. But all women believe that they're entitled to that elite man, and then when they get finally to the end of their sexually marketable years, when they get to the epiphany phase, 29 to 31. they're like, where's my, and they're getting mad. Where's my Prince Charming? Where's my shining knight? Where's my 666, right? Where is my 6 foot tall alpha male who's ready to settle down and have children with me right now? Or where is the beta chump that Sheryl Sandberg told me was going to be waiting for me when I hit 30 years old, who wanted an equal partner and wanted an opinionated woman who will help me take care of the kids I've already had, with the hot guy in the foam cannon party. So you've got the generation, at least the last 2 generations, maybe the 3 generations of women who are already finding that there is a social convention waiting for them to help them sort of ease the pain of not being able to find that guy. So we say, oh, men have fragile egos. Men are, they're infantile. They only want hot girls. Men need to go for age appropriate women like you, because that's what you're looking for at that phase of your life. That's exactly what you're looking for. I wanted to say this though, that my original point was this though, is remember the whole thing that inspired this show topic was that article about how what is it? The manosphere sort of came into its own in this era because there's so many guys that are looking for answers. They're looking for some way to, and John's right. They don't want to do the work for it, but they're still looking for the magic pill. They're looking for that formula, that template, something that helps them move along. And I'll tell you the thing that's funny to me as being a guy in my early 50s right now is that common sense, conventional masculinity, just like things that you grew into as a mature, conventionally masculine man, those things are like a rare commodity right now. Like Mike Rowe, who just comes up with these kind of masculine truisms or aphorisms or stuff. People love the guy because he represents something that this generation, last 2 generations of men have never had. Now, here's my last point is that Rich was talking about this at one point, like about 3 months ago, about the guy who started the YouTube channel, and it's like Father Shows You How channel.
Yeah.
And TradCons jumped on, they just jumped on that, like Neil, right? It's telling these guys how to change a tire, how to tie a tie, how to start a campfire, how to do these things that you should have learned in Cub Scouts, right? Or you like in any other generation, you would already know because your dad would have taught you how to do those. But now the guy can have a 2 million sub strong channel inside of 4 months, 5 months, because he's teaching these basic skills to guys, because those institutions that used to teach them those, they're gone. Completely gone. And now he's a superhero to the TradCon right, because he's teaching these guys masculine responsibility, because that's what we need is more and more responsibility. And what's this authority Rollo's talking about? Nobody cares, but they see that guy, and now he's a hero. And now he has it's probably like 3 or 4 million subs by now.
I don't get how Troy's not the hero though. Your content is so much better.
Listen. That's the thing that Rollo, because you're a little detached from what's going on with the younger kids these days, and the fatherless epidemic is so huge. Because like when you came into Body Language Mastery and we were in the webinar, I was like, what do you mean these guys don't know this shit? Like there it is for you. And you're a little bit, you're obviously the godfather of the manosphere. So you're the fucking you have like a more predisposition to understanding these things. You know what I mean?
Well, I totally get it, though. I understand why, guys are looking for that right now. But you can market common sense. You could actually make a business out of selling, here's how you hold a girl's hand. Mm-hmm. Stuff that you would have had to figure out in any other generation. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have PUA. You didn't have forums. You didn't have blogs. You didn't have any of that shit. You had to do it it was trial and error. And
Dad and your older brother.
You were and that's what forced you to get better. That's what forced you to be competitive in sexual marketplace. Now all of that's gone for this generation of guys.
And it's a combination of 2 things. Like I said, when I was making my initial point right at the beginning of the show, women are destroying their families for financial incentives, being alimony and child support. Right? Let's just bottom line it. Right now, the problem is all these things are stuff your father should have taught you if he was a good father. But even these other fathers that are around now, they're backseat dads. Mommy leads the house, mommy leads the kids, all these things. And he's just like, he's a workhorse. He's a mule. He's just an ATM for her, right? She's so, I mean, it's funny because like they're so strong and they're so powered. Then why does like the man out earn you and outperform you and do everything better than you? Why does like everything when you take the dad? You know, there's a study that by just the father being present in the household, just by the father being present, I think reduces all, like whoredom and stripper outcome and mental disease and everything by 40%. But again, this is why America is circling the drain. No society can actively shit on masculinity and shit on men. The founders and creators and sustainers of society and thrive and survive. And that is why if you guys come to Asia, just take a stroll around, take a look. Fathers are still important. Families are still important. Marriage is still important. Okay. But when you have a nation that is not only forsaking men, but actively pursuing men, and don't be like, oh, I'm going to get me too. Don't be a pussy, right? Just take it like a man. But this is the outcome. You don't have to be a victim of this outcome. Like this message that I'm telling you should be empowering, because if you're a guy sitting there listening to this kind of stuff right now, instead of being hungover from the club or, you know, watching sports or doing whatever, the fact that your ear is dialed into this type of material, you already have an advantage over the rest of the world. I just finished this book called You Need More Money by Matt Monero. And the one of the key points I took away from it is he said, decrease your judgment of the outside world and increase the judgment of yourself, and then optimize to become the best you can. And that's not some rah-rah cheerleader message.
Yeah,
That's
it's a simple message.
And that's what is very, very, very possible to do.
I will say this though, Johnny, though, I got to take one comment with yours. Like the Empire, I think has a thing to say about creating masculinity, because you guys held the world up for a bayonet for like 400 years, didn't you? You maybe kind of lost it after the Second World War, Troy. I know that's not your point, but I can't think of a segue.
not my fault either, guys. I'm abdicating responsibility for that one. No, I've now got to follow the High Commander, who just gave a sort of presidential address there, which was fantastic. But I wanted to circle back to something that John had said before, actually, which was that thing about like. And listen, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was saying something along the lines of, look, you know, I might be sometimes a little bit out of shape, you know, like the old hair isn't quite what it was, whatever, but I know I've got game and I go out there and I do it. And I think that is really important. That's a point that really resonated with me. This was something I was talking to with Black Label Logic yesterday on my stream. And it's kind of like one of the ramifications of this whole soyification that we're seeing is that I see less of this attitude from guys of like, I'm just going to go out there and make it happen for myself. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I was when I started, in terms of game, in terms of career, in terms of all of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? You look at the cards that you've been dealt. You're like, okay, I'm not the best looking guy in the world. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm not the most ripped guy in the world. Well, do you know what? So what? I still want to have a great life. I want to have prolific dating experiences. I want to meet loads of girls. I want to travel. I want to earn my own money. I'm going to make it happen for myself. You get that me against the world kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. I'm just reading at the moment the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. He talks about this at the beginning. He talks about creating that me against the world kind of mindset. And when you get that, it's so powerful. You're like, listen, this is me. This is what I've got. These are my assets. These are my aptitudes. These are my weaknesses. Right, sod it. I'm going all out, and I'm going to create a bloody amazing life for myself. And I see too few guys doing that. And I believe that the proliferation of the black pill and all of that stuff is because guys are too lethargic. They're too ready to just say, oh, my life is crap. All right, I'm just going to lay here and die and complain about it on the internet then. That's completely the wrong attitude, guys. You need to be like getting out there. You say, so what have I got? I've got this. This is great about me. Right, I'm going to make this stuff work, and I'm going to create the kind of life that I want.
Well, yeah, and like Sterling and Myron down here too, there's not a singular path. They went different ones. Like, sorry, Sterling, you were like,
jump in here real quick. That like people, like guys, only have the luxury of saying crap like that, of saying like, "Oh, my life sucks. Oh, it's so bad," because we're not at fucking war. Because we're not like my granddad's generation went to Gallipoli and got fucking shot when they were 18. Like, we're very, very lucky to be blessed to live in this world we currently live in, where we don't have to go out and kill another man for the king and country or whatever the hell, right? I mean, maybe Ryan kind of had to when he crossed the or whatever. Like it's a luxury to be so comfortable that we're struggling.
Yeah, and Myron,
really
you were.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on some things from before. So Rollo had mentioned like height, for what women look for men in height. And one of the things I like to do, man, just for fun, I'll go out on dates with girls and I'll ask some questions about things like, hey, what do you think about this? Just to kind of gauge the general female intelligence and delusion as far as like, and this is what I've learned is this. Women fundamentally don't understand the plight of men whatsoever. And on top of that, they actually think there's more higher value men to go around than they think. So I'll ask a girl, hey, what do you think the percentage of guys are that like over 6 feet tall? Oh, like 30%. No, it's actually like 14%. Okay, well, how about over 6'2"? Oh, like 12%. No, it's actually 4%. Make 6 figures a year. Oh, maybe 20%. No, more like 9%. And the thing is that, and then when I tell them that, and I'm like, and that is why you're single here with me right now. And she's like, okay.
That's savage.
Because it's like it's hilarious, man. Because they think, oh, like men are trash, just like Tommy Lahren was talking about, right, on her rant. But again, shout out to Rollo with the Apex policy. Like these women are dealing with such a small minority of men that they think all guys are like that. When in reality, no, there's a very small percentage of men are like that, and the 99% of guys that aren't like that, you see as invisible. You know what I mean? Because like I said, a lot of girls feel this a sense of entitlement to like a guy that has this certain look, that Christian Grey look, I always say, because they read the books, whatever it may be, and they think, oh, well, I deserve this because society props women up to be pedestalized and tell them they're queens no matter what character flaws they have.
Yeah.
And then to add what? Oh, go ahead, Troy.
I was just going to say, it's worth remembering in 50 Shades of Grey, that character, the female character Anastasia, or whatever she's called, she's meant to be an average girl. That's part of the vibe, isn't it? She's actually not. Okay. She's actually meant to be fairly homely, and she still gets picked by Christian Grey, who's the billionaire, handsome, whatever.
Sounds like the Twilight chick.
Twilight. And that's a really good point. I didn't know that. So thanks. And then here's the other thing too, to say what John was saying. I can confirm 100% that a father in the home prevents girls from dancing, because I literally, every stripper I've dealt with came from a fatherless home. Every single one, including the one this week. So with that said,
humble brag, including the one who's under the desk now.
Yeah, pretty much. So I always got to back John up, man. We fried some chick last week on Offie's podcast. So anyway, that's all I want to say.
All right, I guess quick shout out here to Anon for the £14.99 super chat. I hear you guys, but to be honest, 99% of men don't like working. And then the hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Hot dude army. Look at that, Johnny. Your boys are out there slinging cash like it's the damn strip club.
I'm telling you, like I'm not like you can't grow a thriving business in 2020 on the internet and be a scammer, right? What I'm doing is an effective coaching program, and I'm changing guys' lives. And all they need to do, literally some of these guys, like this guy, I know exactly who he is. He's in the UK. He's a great guy. Okay. And he's not like 6 foot tall, white guy, perfect figure and everything like that. Not like, 28 in like his prime of his youth, right? Nothing like that. But this guy came in, sat in on a couple webinars, did a little bit of coursework here and there. Now he's like, yeah, I'm leaving. I got all I need. I'm going to go out there and enjoy the fruits of my labor. And I'm seeing the girls that he's pulling too. He's sending me photos. These girls are stunning. All I'm telling you is this. The biggest misconception men have today is how hard it is to get in the top 20%. All you need to do is make $150,000 a year. In 2020, that is a laughable amount of money to make. You can make that in 5 days. You can make that in 1 day. Okay, with the amount of skills and a completely self-employed. But people don't even understand what is available to them today because they want to sit around and cry about MGTOW and be a victim. But we live in it is a sickening amount of abundance out there. And when you get into that top 20%, right? Just to be in the top 20%, all you need is 20% body fat. People don't seem to realize that. Like you like because everybody is just so fat. Okay, if you're making, let's just say $100,000 a year, 20% body fat, and you watch this kind of content, and you actually go and talk to girls, congratulations, you're actually in the top 5%, if not 1% of men on the planet.
Let me just jump in here real quick, because I mean, I know we're coming up on time here, but I wanted to sort of bring us back to the institution thing, because like a lot of people are complaining. Like if you look at things from like a societal level right now, people are looking at religion and they look at it as a failing institution. We look at marriage, already a failed institution because we have pretty much made it entirely a one-sided, unconscionable contract for women. Look at academia, look at school. School is a failing, like traditional universities and such like that. They are a failing institution. Why? Because we've allowed that feminine influence to go in there and dictate, to become an authority within that institution. The government, look at I can only use the U.S. government as an example here, but whenever women come into political power, the first thing they do is, we need to get women in the Supreme Court. We need to get a female president. We need to ensure that abortion is safe and legal. We need to make sure that child support is indoor. Why is alimony? Like we were just talking about alimony a minute ago. Alimony is a leftover from the 1930s. Okay, it is a leftover. It's old order, really old order thinking, because it made sense in 1930s Depression era of the United States. In 2020, it is part of the unconscionable contract. Child rearing has shifted from a marriage-based model to a child support-based model. That's what women do when they get into positions of authority, positions of political power. It's not about the greater good. It's not about serving constituencies. It's about serving the sisterhood uber alles. And that's where we're at right now. The only institution, the only solidarity we have right now is the sisterhood, because guys are lost. They're cut off. They would never even presume to take any kind of authority for themselves. So when I argue with people like Candace Owens, or I'm talking about like Tomi Lahren, I say, well, she's a conservative. No, she's not. She's a feminist. And if you listen to how she talks, feminism is in conservatism. It's in leftist ideology. It's in libertarianism right now. It's everywhere. It is fluid. So anytime we allow the feminine to come into any kind of, I don't say matriarchy, but certainly gynocentrism or gynocracy, I guess. Anytime you allow that, you're going to have a failed institution within 30 years, maybe not even that long, really. In this case, because we now have the internet, it probably goes a lot faster than that. Myron was talking about the government in Sudan. There was a story about how the government of Sudan is now an officially feminist government. 3 females who look the part too, in a previously Islamic state, is now a feminist state. Sweden, now a feminist state. And what I think you're going to see, and you look at the sentiment from even the Dalai Lama, who has this vision of a 200 nation world all governed by women. Like that's his stated goal. I can show you the tweet where it was back in March on International Women's Day. He was piling on with all of that. If you look at everything that we've done right now, you want to know why socialism is such a great idea for women? Because women are communitarian. They're innately communitarian. They're innately collectivist. That's how they evolved. We were the hunters. Women were the gatherers. They were the incubators of the next generation. They are the most vulnerable sex. So therefore, they have to find solidarity amongst themselves for survival. So when women get into positions of power, socialism seems like a good idea. Collectivism seems like a good idea. Egalitarianism. Want to know why we're so obsessed with equal partnerships in marriage instead of this balanced patriarchy that we used to have? But that's because we have allowed women allowed this feminist or female way of the female correctness into our institutions. That's why we have failed institutions. Same thing. A good example. Another one. Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts used to be a male only. It was a male space. Women come in there, assimilate the space. They change the purpose of it, so it's not about men anymore. It's about breaking gender barriers or whatever. And now that fundamentally changes that game. Same thing with female sports, right? We demand that we're paid the same amount of money that men are for playing the same sport. Well, that's not how the game works. Nobody cares about when you guys are playing it. They care about when men are playing it because it's a different game. okay, screw it. We're going to make everybody equal. Everybody's, nobody's special. And when nobody's special, or when everybody's special, nobody is special.
That's why they don't have.
I want to say something real quick.
Go ahead. Then I'm going to deal with this Fudge Pants super chat.
So, Ian, guys, you see, I was talking earlier, right? How I said some people make $150,000 self-employed one day. It's 100% true. And there's somebody in the chat right now crying right now, and he's saying, that's not true. It's impossible. Like, this guy's full of shit. You see, guys like that, that's your competition. Uneducated guys with big mouths. Instead of getting on the internet and taking 2 seconds to type in, can you make $150,000 in one day? Right? He wants to sit here and he's so triggered. He's so emotional. He's vomiting all over his keyboard, and he's 1,000% wrong.
They just don't. They don't know, though. It's like the other guy here. He's like, if you were so rich, why would you be here on a Saturday? I'm like, well, this is how you're doing it. So yeah, most people show up to work. But
that's the same. That's the same guy I'm talking about. But again, like I said, that right there, you're missing the point. The point I'm trying to say. Those people exist, like I just mentioned, and they just showed up in the chat, and that is your competition.
Fair enough. Speaking of which, then Fudge Pants has the most vital question, and everybody's been asking. Sterling, thank you, by the way, to Rollo and me. We're doing great. What's with the couch?
You're muted, Sterling.
This is a green screen, you dummies.
It's convincing.
Wait a minute. So you don't literally podcast outside the studio?
Awesome. That's the background Sterling Cooper chooses for his green screen. I love it.
Dude, I love it. I don't know, Sterling. I don't know if you know this, but Paul Elam, he was like a men's rights guy. I don't know if you know who he is, but he used to green screen shit all the time, but he would always like green screen a bar or like a workshop, all these like masculine places, like a gym. And then you're just like, yeah, casting couch. I don't know why, but that makes it so much easier for me.
I got another question for Sterling. Here, this is the most pressing question of our time, our current era. Do you like a woman to be shaved or really, really hairy?
Yes. Oh. And this will reveal if you're alpha or not.
Yeah, or you're a porn addict. Are you a porn? I think you're a porn addict. What do you prefer, Sterling?
I saw that fucking tweet. What the hell? Shit I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, well, aren't like hair lice? Aren't they going extinct right now? Yeah.
Yes. Like crabs are going extinct because people
like we're literally like stopping the spread of a deadly pathogen. And guys got to complain about that.
Real men like a hairy beaver.
Yeah, I love flossing.
Okay, I will play devil's advocate here really quickly, and I'll say one thing positive about a girl having a bush, and not necessarily like a giant bush, but at least having some hair on the mound. Is you can grab the fucking thing and you can pull it.
Trump was right this whole time. Just grab it.
That's exactly how you grab them by the pussy.
Why did I not save that? I should have put that up.
Dude, you just solved the Trump derangement syndrome. People just didn't know that vital piece of info this whole time.
Real simple.
You could have saved Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Failing that, if they're completely shaved, then you just grab the lips like a hamburger and you do it that way.
Ooh. Hey, speaking, John was saying Americans are overeating. That's a good reference then for them. Just grab it like a quarter pounder. Sorry, Myron. I know you're still in America. Stand there, you and Rollo. So you're like, guys, this is Marca. Quieter will bring you freedom.
I'm lucky because here in Miami, man, we don't have that many fat people. But I'll tell you guys this: like when I went to go shoot with Donovan for his one-on-one with Donovan show last week. When I was in New Jersey, I was like, oh, what is this? Like these people are disgusting, man. Like when I leave, because like Miami's kind of like a fake world here. Like all the girls are hot, it's warm, people here are generally attractive. So like when I go to other parts of the country, I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. Like Texas and stuff. And I used to live in Texas for years, but now I'm kind of like, when I see obese people, I'm just like, oh my God, get me out of here, man. So
I heard there was some quality in Texas though, like in some of the cities there. Is that not the case?
Southern Texas is what I was I was referring like San Antonio and South. It's right. Obesity rate is.
Troy, have you been to America? Like, have you been? I've
been to America. I've been to like New York. I've been to Vegas. I've been to Miami. I've been to LA, but I haven't been to anywhere else. I've just been to those major cities. Really.
What years did you attend?
few years ago. I've not been to the States for a few years now, about 6 years or something.
Okay.
Well, it's got a lot worse in the last few years, I guess.
I know. I'm just trying to understand your data set. I mean, do you when you come to the States, like, how do you, as an international player, how do you feel about the dating quality dating market in the United States?
To be fair, the most game that I've done has been in New York, and I find there's some quality there. But I think that's just because it's a big city and it's a very international crowd, etc. So I think my sense of it has been a bit like, do you know what I mean? Like, I haven't really got into the weeds of it, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't been to much of Florida or outside of Miami or anything. So,
question, Troy. So you've been to the States. Rolo, you've been to Europe. Sterling, you're in Aussie stand there. Commonwealth, same queen. Is that meme about the American girls being fatter? Because I know Australia is kind of known for some chubbers and Britain's kind of known for the heifers. Do you guys think America gets a bad rap on that? Do you think it's kind of Western in general?
I think
it's just different.
I think it's Western in general, but I also think that the States, because the States magnifies everything, doesn't it? So you see some real outliers in the States for sure.
75% of the population of the United 75% of the population of the United States is overweight and or obese right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Australia is actually the girls in Australia are pretty thin for the most part, especially in the beach cities. When you go to like Perth or the Gold Coast, the girls are hot because they spend all weekend on the beach, right? So none of them want to look like a land whale.
I did see that with Bondi when I was down there last, and I didn't know that place was topless until I look over and saw titties, and it throws you for a loop as a Canadian. You're like, oh right, topless beaches. Well played, good sir, though. Well played. All right, what do we got on here? I hope you guys saw we did a little joke about the Bruno thing. That's kind of what we're talking about with that whole problem with porn. Hence the joke about Sterling actually being the solution with porn, but whatever.
If you don't like hairy bushes, you're a coomer.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? Coomer now? Do you remember like Cuck?
Gold. I had to save that one.
It's good. Do you remember Cuck, how it used to be like a specific thing? Some dude's railing your wife and you like it. And now it's just a generic way to call somebody a poopy head. And I have a feeling Coomer's kind of going that direction now.
I can remember back in the 90s, if a girl had like a belly piercing, like she had that little navel ring, she was definitely a stripper, right? Or I remember when shaving your snatch was like niche porn. Like,
dude, I remember when tan lines were niche.
Shaved? All right. And then there was the tramp stamp. So we went to tramp stamp. That made a girl hot because she had something over her back. Well, so you could, have some art to enjoy while you're taking her from behind kind of thing. Nice. And it's like this escalation. Now it's like nipple piercings or whatever else. It's just this.
I've seen a girl with a tramp stamp and it was the Lord's Prayer. It was fantastic.
Nice. But I remember that in the 80s, there was always bikini lines to this because there was no like tanning beds at the time. And then in the 90s, it was being like fully bronze, no tan lines. And then in the 2000s, like the tan line came back as like a proof that she's not naked all the time. It gives you that little bit of trad in there. It's like, oh, she's a good girl, see, because she's not buck naked in the sun. I do remember this, and I thought it was like, what a weird niche. Now it's, of course, like your cousin is like the biggest niche. I don't understand that. I don't want to rag on it too much because Sterling, I feel bad. I haven't looked at your back catalog, so you have like a bunch of like my sister came in with homework. I don't want to rag on your business, so I don't know if that's your niche.
No joke. Okay, so most of the companies are actually owned by Canadians.
Oh yeah, out of Montreal.
Out of Montreal, and the bigger they get, the more lawyers they get involved. So there's one company I shoot for a bunch called Pure Taboo, and when they started out, they were all about like super blackmail-y, super coercion based like scenarios. But as they've grown, the lawyers have gotten in more and more, and they're like, "Well, look, you can't do this, and this." So, and you have to say like if you're doing some kind of fake incest thing, you have to use the word stepson at least 4 times before the intercourse happens. So I had a script on Wednesday, which was literally like me and my stepdad were sharing a chick, and I had to like every time he said son, I had to jump in and be like stepson, like that was.
Oh god,
I don't know why that reminds me of like that's as entertaining as the old lemon whore meme that was a while there.
I that's the girl I was working for.
Oh, the lemon whore girl,
Joanna Angel. Yeah, she was.
Dude, she has the greatest video in the hit. She like beats out Deep Throat in like classic porn.
Sorry guys, are you sharing my screen?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some pictures here of girls on nights out in the UK just to fill you guys in. Can you see that?
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
You can
So
tell
that's
it's
one.
the teeth.
This is like the classic UK night out here. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh God.
Dude, what
Spice Girls were right.
on?
That's a huge bitch.
So this is the kind of quality that we've got.
On that guy in the cowboy hat and the dress, funny story. When we
Yeah.
went to Dubai, they had to give us a brief on how to handle, like, we didn't know anything about Muslims back then, because it was like 2008. And they gave us this briefing about how to be culturally sensitive to them. Like, they don't like, a lot of massage. They don't like a lot of talking about girls. They don't like a lot of exposed skin. And they would use specific examples of British sailors who, for some reason, when they got drunk, would always put on dresses and act in drag. It was like, it's like the British Navy thing. And I don't understand why or how it got there.
There is a weird part of the British psyche which is about like dressing up in women's clothes for a joke. I don't really understand why, but it is. Look at this. These are some high quality women here that you can see.
Jeez, and I thought Kenosha was bad.
I'm not sure. That's a giant penis. Yeah, so there you go. That's a classic British night out, guys. That's what you want to be. That's
My
what.
Why is
God.
there garbage everywhere? That's still disgusting.
No, you can't just
Mate.
put your things in the trash bin. You got to leave them on the street. All right, Rolo, am I adding yours now?
Is that like a normal?
Those handy right now. That was somebody sent that to me, and I saved it for like to use as a.
Yeah.
I was like,
So there's
they got some big ass women over there.
You guys got to go to Australia where they just call you a cunt and then play rugby in the street.
That's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. They're thinner and like prettier, but once they open their mouth, you're like, ugh.
There's a lot of Australian girls in London actually, and they are pretty rough. There's a sort of masculine edge to a lot of them, I find.
Dude, I didn't like once I moved out of Australia, that's when I noticed that. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Walk like dudes.
Yeah, there's a sort of masculine edge to them. There's a party here called the Church on Sundays that goes off at 11 o'clock, I think, in the morning, and it goes on all day. I mean, obviously not at the moment because of COVID, and it's full of these Aussie birds like drinking Fosters, going, kind of thing. It's pretty rough, man.
I'm actually very proud about Canada then, because us, we do the drinking and the poutine nights, but for the most part, it's like that cabin house party, or the house party where you always end up in the kitchen. That's like Canadiana 100%. I don't know. Do they do that in the States? If you're at somebody's house drinking, or in Japan or in Australia or wherever, do you always end up in the guy's kitchen in his house? Okay, just Canada then.
That's something. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, so I guess that's it. We're coming on the time here. We're having a little bit too much fun. I don't want to waste it on you guys. You should be having your own fun in the chat. God knows we're giving you the tools for it anyway. So I'm going to do a little rotation, starting with Troy, working clockwise. And so you guys follow some of us. All of you don't follow all of us. This is your opportunity to see the kind of stuff you're missing out on. For example,
Troy Francis, dating coach, writer, content creator. Follow me on YouTube. Just type in Troy Francis. You'll find my YouTube channel. Hit subscribe. I put out videos Monday to Friday and sometimes at the weekend as well. Live streams, etc., etc. I'm doing a new live stream show now 3 times a week called CAD Live. That is Charisma and Dating Live, where I get guests on. But predominantly, I answer your questions about game, dating, the dating marketplace, etc., etc. That's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. EST. So yeah, hit me up on YouTube, join me for the party there, and we'll have a great time. That's it.
nice. Rolo.
Oh boy, I'm Roll Tomasi. Thank you very much. I get out for myself.
That's such a Chevy Chase line, by the way.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. I am going to be doing my show tomorrow, as I always do every Sunday. I am actually considering doing the topic of John, the social dilemma thing, and how it applies to the sexual marketplace.
Bring me on. I could talk the back end data.
Let's talk after the show. I might have you on to discuss that, because I really wanted to sort of dig into the aspects of that documentary that they did. They conveniently swept under the rug. Like they conveniently swept under the rug that human nature, the element of human nature. Like, that's what we are. That's what we want. That's what you want to know why it's so endemic. That's because that's the animal. That's the algorithm works because we're so predictable. But so I'm going to do that tomorrow. Book 4 is in the layout phases right now, so it's coming very soon. Let's see. Oh, also, I did a Patreon only, members only show yesterday. A lot of people ask me and say, "Oh man, look at all these guitars in the back. Where's Rollo's music?" Well, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you would be able to listen to them. So anyways, become a Patreon subscriber. I do that once a week, which is a sort of a Q&A I do for my people. And then I'll give you get perks for membership. So anyways, that is patreon.com/therationalmale.com. That's it.
Nice. And then Myron. So a lot of people here know you, but some people don't. Obviously, they're starting to like you, and they want to binge. Where's the binge?
You guys can binge all my content on Unplugged Fitness. That's my YouTube channel, or you can search Unplugged Fit. That's where you can also find me. I got like stuff there on how to deal with chicks and fitness stuff, even though no one watches the fitness stuff. Like, come on, man, you guys got to. And then I do a podcast. I do one on Monday. I'm going to have Rich Cooper on Monday, then Rollo the following Monday. So you guys tune in for that. It's going to be good stuff. And then we do the Fresh and Fit podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays, and patreon.com for all the stuff that I can't tell you guys on the internet, but we show the receipts there, and we give you guys like the deep down psychology and how to deal with like the hottest chicks in the hardest cities. So yeah, patreon.com/freshfit. And yeah, man, if you need help getting in shape or getting chicks, just hit me up, man.
Nice. Commonwealther. Let's do it.
All right, gentlemen. So I've just started a brand new YouTube channel, and I'm under the advice of John from My Dating, and I'm currently streaming every day. I go through 4 different segments. We have a story time with Sterling, where I basically give you a ridiculous story from my my sex work career, and then I tie it into some relevant life lesson. We have Twitter Cringe, where we assess tweets like that George Bruno one you put up a minute ago. We have Men Are Talking, where I get guests on and we give you guys some worldly advice like we're big brothers. And on Sunday,
tune in, guys. Sterling, it's fun when we do those.
They're very fun. And on Sunday, I have I'm launching my new my first episode of my new segment, which is Tales from a Hot Girl, where I have porn girls in here in the studio with me, and we basically go through their DMs and show you the ridiculous crap they get on a daily basis. So make sure you check that out. Let's see if I can get the link to drop in the chat here. I'm not a mod, though. Yeah, I'm not a mod.
Oh, dude, you should have said something. I'll put you in there. Yeah,
there we go. But that's me. So I think Ryan's going to drop the link in the chat.
Keep talking for a second. I can't see anything while I'm trying to mod you.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, me too, Ryan.
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got you guys. Just make sure you say something.
Okay.
Brilliant.
I feel like I'm being promoted. I just got mod.
Damn it. The stupid thing. Are you guys, I can't tell if you're not talking. I'm listening to the thing. I don't want to have the dead air here.
Ryan, just switch the screen to me so we don't have dead air time here.
There we go.
All right. So this Thursday, the enrollment for Body Language Mastery starts again. And then October 1st, we begin the 3-week intensive educational course. It is live. It is going to be every single day from October 1st, every business day, Monday to Friday, from October 1st until October 21st. Okay. It starts at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All sessions will be recorded. There'll probably be 250 plus people in attendance. Go to modernlifedating.com/body language to get on the waiting list. Dude Party is going to be after it. Go to my channel, subscribe. Link is in the chat. And that's pretty much all I got for you.
Dang it. All right. You guys got to say something in chat for me to add. I'll do mine quickly. I'm busy as hell right now. We got the Rule Zero Live thing coming around, and I'm focusing on a couple surprises for the guys showing support. It's not just enough to come and see and all the value we're doing. I got some special stuff on the back end. Patreon knows what I'm doing. I'm going to keep it a surprise until it's finished. On that note, like I said, Sterling and I, and hopefully Rollo, as well as Rob from Modern Life Gaming, any of the guys here from Rule Zero chat, we're going to get together. I thought, why don't we show you guys a little human side? So I was going to have an Among Us, who's the most Machiavellian red-pilled content creator little thing going on Monday afternoon. It's going to be a blast. You get to watch us yell at each other over being liars. It's going to be like the old days where you're getting drunk with buddies playing Risk, and then one of you has to flip the table and start a fist fight. So the only thing we're hyping on right now is because Rollo's got a Macintosh, which means he absolutely can't even play like the simple game. So if we can get that working, he's going to be in, but whatever. Either way, it's going to be a blast, depending on everybody's schedules. But yeah, come check that out. It's going to be on twitch.tv/RyanStoneRP. Cooper's going to have, I think he's going to have his as well. everybody will stream it on their own channel. So we'll make sure that everybody has links everywhere. And then on that note, I think that's it. Sterling, send me the link. I'm going to throw it in the live chat. So after we go offline, don't leave right away because I'm going to get you guys the link to that. I actually want to see him showing me porn chick DMs of thirsty dudes anyway, because Bob's and Vagine is getting old. So I kind of want to see how much better it can get. I'm not going to lie to you. There we go, Sterling. I hooked you up.
Excellent. Thank you very much there. I'm just dropping my my link in the chat now.
John, what's the topic for Dude Party?
We're going to talk about that insufferable young girl that made the video about Rich Cooper, the purple-haired feminist chick.
Oh,
It's going to break down that video. It's going to be great content. I don't care if anybody comes watch. It's going to be great, but come on over. We're starting here at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to my channel. This girl did a takedown video of, attempted takedown video of Richard Cooper, and it's just she's such a loser and lacks such self-awareness. And I'm going to talk about, I went on a date with this chick recently, this 19-year-old, man. This girl was talking about how strong and independent she is and how she does everything for herself and blah, blah, blah. And I gave some critical feedback on just how insufferable she was. I was just like, you are just so insufferable. Like, has anybody ever told you you're rude? And the only thing you bring to the table is being hot, and that's pretty useless. She's like, you're judging me and I don't like that, blah, blah, blah. She couldn't even take one comment about her awful personality, but at the same time, she's talking about how strong and independent she is. Meanwhile, she's selling her ass on a seeking arrangement. Dad pays for her rent and her college, and she says, I don't need a man in my life. I love it.
Don't need another man in her life. Sounds like she's got enough.
I love it. I love it so much. So
dude, send me a link. I haven't seen this chick ragging on Rich. Is he a single mom? That's usually the ones that rag on him.
No, it's in the chat. He sent it to all of us.
Oh, good. I'll have to go check that out. I'm curious. Who rags on him that's not a single mom, though? That's kind of like his MO. All right, fair enough. Anyways, we're running late. Dude Party's starting up. So guys, get in there. Links to everything's in the chat here. Thanks for sticking around. All the good words, and we'll catch you next week.